Welcome to the Nursing Post podcast, all nursing all the time with Ashley Moore and Rosa Horsley. Today we're discussing heart disease amongst women. Our goal is always to inform and start conversation. Despite increases in awareness over the past decades, only about half, 56%, of women recognize that heart disease is their number one killer.
That's amazing that it's still that low. So some statistics, of course. Heart disease is the leading cause of death for women in the United States, killing almost 300,000 people in 2017, or about 1 in every 5 female deaths.
Think of all the women in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Now, just think about your family.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go back one generation, okay?
Yep.
That's about at least one person
Yes.
in your family.
Yes. Heart disease is the leading cause of death for African American and white women in the United States. Among American Indian and Alaskan Native women, heart disease and cancer causes roughly the same number of deaths each year. For Hispanic and Asian or Pacific Islander women, heart disease is second only to cancer as a cause of death. So, this is affecting every nationality, every race.
Yeah, it does not discriminate.
No. About 1 in 16 women aged 20 and older, or 6.2%, have coronary artery disease, the most common type of heart disease. About 1 in 16 white women, or 6%, Black women at 6.5%, and Hispanic women at 6%. And about 1 in 30 Asian women at 3.2%. So, Asians seem like they're in a little bit of a better spot than anybody else, but it's still 3% of women.
Wonder if diet has anything to do with that.
Very well could. Experts believe that 80% of heart disease is preventable. That's huge. Women have been understudied in cardiovascular research, therefore leading to inappropriate workup. And women often do not receive the best guideline-based treatments.
Well, think about it. If they're doing the majority of studies on males, what recommendations?
I don't understand how we can know these numbers as a society and then not change.
No, it's astonishing to me because it's not just about this. I feel like it's about a whole lot of topics.
Well,
you know what I mean?
Without a doubt. And you and I were just thinking the exact same thing. I'm just like, there's so many things. We give statistics, I think, every episode.
It's like our thing. I love it, though.
Because it really hits home, and we try to make sure that we get good statistics.
Yeah, we want to break it down so that people understand.
And not just somebody's thought process. Mm-hmm. Like numbers that have been studied and researched because we're nurses and science. But man, we know all this stuff, and it doesn't change. Like, why doesn't it change? That's just amazing to me. Like, women should know. It's on TV. It's on commercials.
The American Heart Association has made a whole, campaign about this. And rightfully so. As women in general, I think we need to just tend and make ourselves a priority to take time and go to the doctor. I understand you're a mother. I understand you're a worker. I understand, that you may be a caretaker for someone else. But if you can't take care of you, how are you going to take care of anybody else? Absolutely. And I'm the worst one at that. Like, you've told me, Rosa.
Yes, I have.
You need to take off and go to that appointment. And I'd be like, but Ashley, work
just like
short.
The one that you were supposed to go to when?
Yeah. Okay, let's not talk about that.
Okay, yeah.
She calling me out in public. But this is the thing, like, because women generally tend to put themselves on the back burner, I think that's also part of this problem too. And the thing about women and heart disease is that we tend to present differently than men.
And just because we're presenting differently does not mean we're crazy.
No. We just present differently. And because there's not as much studies done on women, we're getting missed a lot with our signs and symptoms because we are presenting differently. So the most common symptoms are angina, which is, heart pain, pain in the neck, jaw, and throat, pain in your upper abdomen or back, being nauseated, vomiting, or fatigued. And yes, I understand that these are probably also a lot of the symptoms that could possibly be related to like super anxiety. But if you're having these issues more days than not, you need to take a time out and see your doctor.
Absolutely. When we're looking at heart disease, we're going to get into three specific things that we want you to know about. One being a heart attack, chest pain or discomfort in the upper back, neck pain, indigestion, heartburn, nausea, vomiting, fatigue, upper body discomfort, dizziness, and shortness of breath are signs of a heart attack. So if a patient was to tell me that they're having chest pain and it's radiating somewhere,
especially the left side,
to the arm, to the jaw, you know, I'm sitting here like hand gesturing my left side, which is why you can't see me, but
we're playing charades.
Yes, it does make a difference. And a lot of women think that it's heartburn and it's not.
Yeah. Don't keep taking your Tums thinking that that's going to solve your problem.
Right.
If you're taking Tums like every single day, several times a day,
something needs to be done.
You need to go to the doctor.
Even if it's just heartburn, you probably need to be like on a PPI or something, because that's just not good.
Yes.
But another one we want to go over is arrhythmias, which is an abnormal heartbeat. And so if you're feeling like fluttering in your chest, or you like notice your heartbeat, I mean, just to get real, you shouldn't really notice your heartbeat. I mean, unless you run a marathon.
Yeah, and not after, you might after 3 cups of coffee.
Right.
So without running a marathon and being heavily caffeinated,
right,
your heart rate shouldn't really be like 125.
Or you shouldn't be noticing a lot of chest palpitations or fluttering and things like that. So those are things that if you're noticing that, you do need to go
see somebody.
And I mean, a simple EKG where they put stickers on your chest and click a button. It's non-invasive. It doesn't hurt unless you're a man and you're hairy. I mean, this is about women's health.
Yes,
but,
that's true.
I mean,
women can be hairy too. To each his own.
Right. But I mean, that's things that you just need to look in. You know, it's non-invasive. It doesn't hurt.
Now.
It's okay.
There are products now out there that can help.
Yes.
You know, it's not 1,000%, correct. But how many smartwatches now can detect an arrhythmia?
Right.
So, I mean, if you feel like you may be one of those that are experiencing it, just take a tap a couple of times when you're feeling that feeling on your smartwatch and take notice. And if more times or not, your smartwatch is telling you something's not right, you better heed that.
Right. Well, and it never hurts to get it checked out.
Absolutely.
And the last thing is heart failure, which you may notice shortness of breath, fatigue, feeling very tired, swelling in your feet, ankles, legs, abdomen. Or if you can notice that your neck veins are sticking out, we call that JVD. And that's a sign that you just have too much fluid on board.
Which is not a good thing.
Right.
Because, that causes congestive heart failure. It can lead into a whole lot of other things. Making your heart work harder. We don't want that. We want it to work smarter.
And a lot of these can either be prevented, or you can take medication to reverse or fix a problem without it being a big deal.
Absolutely. The earlier you catch it, though, not the later, because, your heart is a muscle. And if it is overworked, sometimes you don't get that muscle memory back. So you just want to make sure that you are discussing these things with your primary at your yearly checkups. And there are a lot of people who are at risk, and women who are at risk for heart disease. If you're a diabetic, if you're obese, if you're eating an unhealthy, sedentary lifestyle, and you're drinking too much alcohol while you're smoking, you have high blood pressure, a history of heart disease, if you suffer from depression or chronic stress, if you have any type of inflammatory disease, such as lupus or rheumatoid arthritis, HIV, even menopause, due to fluctuations in, hormones and whatnot, puts you at a higher risk of having heart disease.
Some testing that would be done to help see if you do have heart disease, like I was saying before, the EKG that measures electrical activity in your heart and that looks for arrhythmias or an abnormal heartbeat. It can also show if you've had a heart attack previously. There are echocardiograms, which is an ultrasound of your heart. And that looks at the actual structure of your heart. It looks at your valves, if they're functioning correctly. It looks at the size of the ventricles and the pumping action. There's a lot that it looks at.
That goes into, yeah.
There's a stress test. Some people you are running on a treadmill. Some people you are getting medicine injected into you. But the stress test is going to measure your heart's electrical signals and blood pressure, and it can predict whether or not you have blockages that limits blood flow to your heart when you exercise. And this is really one of the things that'll be done a lot of times, especially if you're having chest pain with exertion.
Mm-hmm.
Or sitting still. But if you're having like active chest pain or angina, that's when they're going to be like, well, hold on, we need to see. Because what that chest pain can be caused from is a lack of blood flow to your heart. And that hurts.
Of course.
There's a carotid ultrasound. That is just an ultrasound of the side of your neck. It looks at your carotid arteries. That can assess your risk for stroke.
It also looks for, because let's remember what strokes are. And we've talked about this in a previous podcast.
Yes.
So those carotid arteries, they're looking for blockages, cholesterol, plaques, anything that can show how clogged they are. And they normally check both sides. And like Ashley said, it's looking for your risk of stroke.
Right. And if that artery is clogged, chances are other arteries in your body are clogged.
Mm-hmm.
So it is important. There is something called a ankle brachial index, and that is the ratio of the blood pressure in your legs to your arms. So if that has a discrepancy, there's an issue. A coronary CTA is a specialized CT scan that looks at the blood vessels around the heart to see if there's any blockages. So again, a lot of this is all just looking to make sure that blood is flowing through your body.
It's its job.
That your heart is pumping the way it should.
Mm-hmm.
And that the electrical side of your heart, because your heart has its own nervous system, as a better way to explain it, that it's working correctly. And most of these are non-invasive.
You might, have some imaging done that you might not like, but they're not really invasive.
And so I think a lot of people are scared of what's going to have to happen. What am I going to have to go through? Is it going to hurt? And in short, a lot of these tests to at least either give you peace of mind that they're normal or say, oh, we might have found something before you did have a massive heart attack and have to end up having a huge surgery. I'm going to tell you, anything that they're going to do in the cath lab is going to hurt a heck of a lot less than them cracking open your chest.
Absolutely. You're 1,000%. So we want to go over some nursing considerations. Heart disease is the leading cause of death in women, and most women do not have signs of heart disease. Like I said, they present differently than those in men. We have to be extra careful and more vigilant about our symptoms than your fellow man. Educate your patients and family to know their blood pressures. Having uncontrolled blood pressure can lead to heart disease. High blood pressure has no symptoms, so it's important to have your blood pressure checked regularly. You can visit episode 8 for more information on hypertension, because we've done this podcast. Talk to your doctor or your healthcare team about whether you should be tested for diabetes, because having uncontrolled diabetes raises your risk of heart disease. Quit smoking. And if you don't smoke, please don't ever start. It constricts blood flow. Mm-hmm. And if you're already having issues with your heart circulating properly, smoking is not going to help that.
Right. And if you have problems and it's genetic, then you don't want
to be even predisposed to. You're already predisposed to it.
Right.
Don't add it on or make it worse. Discuss checking your blood cholesterol and your triglycerides with your doctor. Having high cholesterol is what's causing plaque buildup in your arteries. and that can break off and cause your stroke. So you want to make sure that you're getting your annual checkups and you're getting your labs done at the discretion of your physician. And you want to make healthier food choices, life choices. You know, being overweight or obese, it raises your risk of heart disease. So limit how much alcohol that you take in daily. Try limiting it to 1 drink a day, and learn how to manage your stress levels by finding healthy ways to cope with stress. You know, even things as basic as walking for 30 minutes. Meditating, listening to music, dancing, all of this, you know, can help relieve some stress in your life.
As always, we will link our references to our website, thenursingpostpodcast.com. If you like this episode, be sure to subscribe to our podcast. You can find us on any of your favorite platforms. You can leave any comments or suggestions there as well. And again, thank you for listening to The Nursing Post.